back to the Berg Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. With me today is Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're talking about snow. And it seems appropriate, right? Halloween just around the corner. I like to say this, but it's probably been like 6 or 7 years now since we had that Halloween snow. But every year when Halloween comes around, I'm like, you remember the Halloween snow? I feel like an old man now.
The first one is, I think, the earliest is that, and the last is April 9th. I think it was like the end of the season I put the plow on.
And that April storm, that was a blizzard, right? When we got, it was like April, maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of the
This
wrong
was different.
storm.
It was only a couple inches, but I just remember running back here and having to switch everything out because we thought we were
done. Yeah.
The two funny ones I remember are number one, before I was even here, but we were together, and I was at a high school football game on Thanksgiving, and I was like, it's not gonna snow. Then I called Ford and I was like, it's snowing in Jersey. What is it doing? And then I had to get out of Jersey, and he had to get out of where he was and get down there. But the other one is that
Christmas Eve that one time where nobody was there, and they're like, you still got to go. So I was there for a couple hours.
Ford, no kids, was there by himself. Bill, that was effective. And the other one I remembered was the snowstorm that happened in the Eagles game. I don't remember when it was probably right around the beginning of December. You remember that, Ford? It snowed like a bear. It was bad.
I remember they were getting calls out to everybody like, hey, we need shovelers because we got to get this field done. And we're all like, we're on like hour 48. We're not doing it.
So, but yeah, so we're just trying to talk through sort of, where snow came from, the relevance of it, how it got started, all those sort of things. So I don't know, Ford, you want to sort of start with how you got into snow at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple equation back when I first started because earthwork generally slows in the wintertime. We still work, but we just can't work as much. The weather's bad, cold or rainy or whatever it is. And we have this heavy equipment that we can run and find a way to get hours for people and to create some revenue. So it started, first time I was shoveling at 16, I was working for a guy we were doing driveways. And then the first contract we got as a company was for a apartment building in Reading. And
Ford, you don't do apartment buildings, right?
I think I was 18. I learned that lesson the hard way. But and then we did some HOAs, which we don't do either. But it was a fun thing too because of the fact that, as we talk about multiple times, it allows you to have some creativity. It allows you to make decisions on the fly, and there's certain people on our team that think that we get a little fun. We're excited about it, and it's exciting because it is a chance to make the call and create opportunities, and that's the benefit of it. It's hey, we're gonna salt now, not salt now. We're gonna push. We're not gonna push. Things like that you can't on your day-to-day basis do. But this is stuff that you're literally like real time, and that's what the benefit to it is. And then as time moved on, we found particular types of work that we really like. It's better for the team. It's controlled sites. It's multiple, but large places where we don't have to have people jumping all over the place. The different, when we started, I would plow one place in Elverson and then drive what is a 45-minute drive to Reading in a good day, and then in a snowstorm it's like an hour and a half to go plow the other place. And we learned that doesn't work. So we're very selective on the type of work we do. But when we have this big equipment, it gets guys hours during the wintertime when they might not have as many hours available to them just because of the weather. And it creates an opportunity for everybody. And also, the underlying thing that we don't get to talk about much is it usually creates some cool camaraderie because people get to spend some time together because of the type of sites that we take, and make some new friendships or have a good time.
Yeah. So snow is a little bit like crisis management, right? I mean, you can plan for it, you can prep for it. Get the equipment ready. We do a lot of safety and snow training.
Went through mine yesterday. Go get my little card.
Yeah, exactly. But when it happens, it's different every time, and you're managing through the process, the people, the equipment, the circumstances, and generally speaking, doesn't snow between 9 and 5. Unfortunately, I don't know why that is, but usually
not on a Tuesday either.
Yeah, usually at night, usually on the weekends. And so oftentimes, if you look at our core values, some of the things that we do really well are good in those types of environments and circumstances. Not that we always want to be in crisis mode or crisis management mode, but the way we make decisions, the way we behave usually is part of our strong suit, is being able to seek out solutions, utilize the resources appropriately, and persevere. You get through. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the true way we operate comes out in a snowstorm because we're relying on people that have lower accuracies than baseball hitters to tell us what's going to happen with their projections of the weather.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not going to start till 10 a.m. It's 6 a.m. It started here. We got to move, or things like that. Mm-hmm. All those types of things come into play, and everybody gets involved. Everybody in this room has plowed snow. We still go out and do it, so it's not a bottom up type thing. It's everybody's involved, and that creates some cool things too, because sometimes you get to see some team members you might not get to see on a daily basis.
Yeah, and when you talk about the core values, right? Creating solutions is a big one because it can be at the center of all these things and act like an owner. They really play well to the snow because of you said what was the word you used to describe it?
Crisis management.
Crisis management. I say chaos, right? But it's also, quite honestly, that it moves everybody else out of the way. So there's no GC, there's no project manager, there's no owner. They're just, because of how we look for the contracts and how we structure them, for the most part, it's going to start snowing and we need to make it go away as fast as we possibly can with really no input from anybody else. Like if some of our guys are more tolerant of listening to the people that sign the contracts and that we confirm we're going to show up with. I for one am less tolerant of listening to them. They have really no say in my mind, and they know that once Ford or I show up, we're going to come up with a plan and we're going to stick to that plan. And they can try and give us some direction, but realistically, we're going to work to the end because from a liability standpoint, they know it's on Berg. And so that gives us the leeway to say, we're going to get this done and we're going to do it the best way we see fit. And I think you really see our whole team take that on and get to own that. And it's a big part of what our culture is. And it's one of the few places where we really get to do it full bore and we're not talking about like a 2-inch snowstorm. You get a 2-inch snowstorm, everybody's going to have their input. The people are going to tell you where they want you to stand. It's not going to be as fun, right? And this is where Gary and Paulie and a lot of the guys who have been around for a long time say like Dan's messed up with how much he likes snow, but it goes away. If it's going to snow 12 inches, once there's 6 inches of snow on the ground, all the people we work for disappear. Everybody's gone. It's just us and a bunch of equipment, usually in the dark, in bad conditions. And we're going to say, how can we most efficiently do this? I was out on the site yesterday and Mike Worth, I don't know why he brought up snow, but Mike brought up snow and he was like, do you remember? And I was in one of the wheel loaders, which were already in the wrong situation, right? Like not like I can't do it, but at this point you'd really want me in a truck. Well, maybe Tom wouldn't want me in a truck, but they, in a plow truck where I could.
NASCAR and snow plowing do not go together.
NASCAR plowing, but also so that I can manage any conversation with the client and just let the guys work. I can just intercept calls so that guys don't have to say no to people. I'll say no. But I was in a machine and he said, you remember it got really icy all of a sudden and you just started sliding. And I remembered what he was talking about. We were in a huge parking lot and it was downhill. And I had gone up and back, 30 times pushing this lot. And it's always the last one. The last one, it froze over. And I didn't realize it froze over. And all of a sudden I started to go forward and it just started drifting to the left. And I was just sliding right towards Mike with really, you can use your pusher to control yourself a little bit. That's sort of what I did, just veered away from him. But like, it gets to be fun because it's just you trying to figure out how to best get it done. And you can really lose yourself at times. You can end up having worked for 2 or 3 hours doing something with no one interrupting you and you turn around and what you did is done. Now it may be snowed over again and you got to go do it again, but you get to do something and see it through right in that moment. So it really lends itself to a lot of our behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the thing is too, that, they say people want to have something bigger than themselves. And this is one of those thankless jobs that are needed that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to, theoretically do. But for when a snowstorm happens, in general, everything shuts down. And the only way to get it back open is by having lots plowed, roads plowed. all that kind of stuff done. And so, not everybody gets thank yous for it, but the reality is without us getting this stuff done for these people, they couldn't go back to what their jobs and tasks
Right.
are. And so it allows us to kind of do that thing where it's like above and beyond us. And like you said, there is no faster proof of what you've done than you're using a pusher and you look behind it and it's macadam and beside it 6 inches of snow. Like there is no,
Sure.
even pushing dirt, you look back and it's
Yeah.
still dirt, but here it's like white, behind it's blacktop.
Snow can be brutal, grueling work. I mean, right? The hours can be long at times. The conditions are not great. And when you say it's one of those thankless jobs, I think that like there's no truer statement. We live in an area where we generally every season expect snow, and pretty much everyone that you know and I know generally expects it to disappear in a reasonable time frame, right?
Unreasonable time frame.
Sometimes
Yeah,
unreasonable time frames. Yes, yeah.
We've been told to catch it out of the sky, which is very unreasonable.
Yeah, but what's great is, pretty much everyone from the Northeast watches these little micro snowstorms pop up in the South and other places, and we just laugh at these people, right? But what most people don't stop to think about or realize is like the people like our crews who make it happen, who make the snow disappear. And there's, those types of, and you alluded to it, like those types of jobs, that type of work, enabling infrastructure to continue doesn't often get recognized as important work. But if we didn't do it and people had to react or respond the way they do when it snows half an inch in Georgia, like people would just lose their minds, So.
No, shutting down is not an option.
Right,
In
right.
the Northeast, you just get used to it. And, they want to be back open. They want to be rocking and rolling. I remember being a kid and like the roads wouldn't get plowed for a couple of days because they just did it as they did it. And now it's like, if it's not ready to go by the next morning, like the township, people get calls and get yelled at for just a different expectation than what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and like, everyone's understaffed, right? So I know like, borough and municipal snow removal can be tough because they don't have that many people. They have a limited number of machines, and there's a hierarchy of what's important and what's not, right? So
Where does the township supervisor live?
right, yeah. So I know my wife at times doesn't agree with how quickly our road should get taken care of, and I acknowledge her concerns, but if you don't have the resources in place to do it the right way, it can be an impossible task.
Well, and the expectation is so funny because I like to ski,
Sure.
and unlike most sensible people would head south when they have a break in the winter. I head north, but they just don't plow the snow up there. I mean, they'll plow it, but like you're just going to drive on it until someone has a chance to push it out of the way, and you're for the most part those economies run on snow, so they want it to snow. Where we are in the Northeast is this odd part where we don't want it to snow at all in terms of the companies, and they don't want the snow there. Like they physically don't want it there. They want you to move it all somewhere else, like it never happened, for safety, for convenience, for all these reasons. And it's funny to watch, because it's the trickiest thing to do is to try and get rid of the snow and put it in places because you start pushing it, right? Like if you get into like the operation of it, the easiest way to clear snow is to push it as fast as you can and push it into everywhere. But then you got to clean that up. So, that's part of this whole thing is you got to be creative in how you're moving the snow, and so it gets to be fun and there gets to be a camaraderie. And, one of the things that we always did, it doesn't happen, I would say as much, that's probably not true. It hasn't happened because we haven't had a lot of snow lately, but that Ford and I would always do. And Colt was another one is we would have like a text chat between the three of us going back and forth, partly saying like, who's going to gamble and put salt down first? Who's going to push first? Where are you? Do you need help? All those sort of things. But the other thing was always on it is, can I beat the township or the state? Like, what's the closest state road to me? Because it's not usually the township I'm trying to beat. What's the closest state road? And can I get black before they get black? Right. And if I do, then I win. Because then you take a picture and that's where competition comes in and you're having some fun. But you take a picture and it's hard for the client to say anything when you're black and the road they can't even get there.
Right.
But if they could get there, your site would be clear. And that's the service you're paying for. And that's the feeling you want them to have. And we always felt that we wanted people to realize it was one of our sites. We don't have a lot of sites. You know, we pared down because we realized we couldn't be all over the place and it was too much. But we'd like you to know because we're done first. You know, and we probably spend a little extra to get it done first.
We all know not only do we do that, but then we're driving home because of the way we do snow, and you see other contractors still out there fighting, and you're like, bummer. See ya. I'm not stopping.
No, I'm not stopping. The good feeling is always when you just get to drop the plow, driving the guys that drive the plows home. You know, Ford has one, I have one, Colt has one, Tom has one, and you drop the plow on your own driveway. And usually it's not the best plow job at all. It's just pushing your way in.
Sure.
But it's like you're done. You know what I mean? Like you're done. For the guys leaving, it's a little different probably because they just got to get in their car and they got to drive home. And they have like a sense of it. But for me, one of the things that people probably don't see that I hear it all the time is my girls do not like snow. They love to ski and they would love to play in the snow, but they know that if it snows, I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. And so as they've gotten older, they all start to say that now. They don't want it to snow. Like they've already had 3 or 4 discussions with what would happen if it snowed on Christmas Eve. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'd have to go to work. And it actually brought up a conversation about my dad. And I said, my dad, as he got older, and I think we talked about this, and the kids were older, he used to take like Christmas. And he would work Christmas. Now, partly he union guy, he got double time, but the real truth was he wanted the younger guys who seniority wise couldn't have out off Christmas. So he would take Christmas and then give it to a guy who had young kids, that it was his first year having kids, so that he could take it off. And I sort of said that to the girls, like, we're at a point now where, like, you know, there's a lot of our guys who had just had a kid. This might be their first Christmas. If it snows, I don't want to make them leave their kids on their first Christmas. Like,
they're not going to be the first call.
Right. They're not going to be the first call. You know, you never know what's going to happen, but, you know, you want to be there, and it's a chance to do something that Ford and I both do naturally, that we'll just go do it, but also to be there and be a part of the team more than we get to be a part of the team now.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I think that we have to talk about the fact that we've done much better with managing employee and team member availability than we used to. We have a bigger team, so we can do that. Yeah. But secondarily, like, we used to push it much further because we have to realize that, you know, it's unsafe for us as well as, you know, everybody, our clients are home sitting there sleeping, doing whatever, and they wake up and it's all magically gone and they can get home, they can go to work and they don't slip and slide and all that stuff. So it's safe for them, but it has to be safe for our team too.
Sure.
I mean, there was 9 days I wasn't home straight. And at that point, my now wife showed up at the job site and said, you have to go to a hotel because I called you on the phone and you weren't even speaking, you know, you were just gibbering, you know, because that's how we did it back in the day. And the people who have been around that long remember that, but it's not that way. It's still tough. It's still brutal. It's still cold. It's still off hours, but it's not what it once was.
Yeah.
And only the people that have gone through it can really understand what that was.
Yeah. And it's hard to describe at times to new members of our team, right? Because maybe they came from a place that didn't do snow removal, or maybe they haven't done it in the past before.
Or done it the way we do
done
it.
it the way we do it, right? And so it's hard for new members at times to understand why it's important to us, why we do it the way we do it, and also recognize why it's good for our organization, right? I mean, if you know, if the weather turns over winter and we're doing less dirt work, and our number one goal is to keep our people working, keep our people busy, right? That's part of what we're trying to do. So by taking on these snow projects, by managing it the way we do, we're often able to get them, so, you know, hours, mostly normal hours, sometimes overtime hours, and do it in a truncated timetable. So
yeah, it's I still enjoy it. Like, that's the truth. I think that if at some point, you know, enough of the people really stopped enjoying it, I would hope we could be stable enough as a company that we wouldn't have to do it, you know, because that was something Ford and I were always mindful of. There was a guy who said to us, I'm not going to use his exact language, but he said, you can't become subservient to snow. Like, it will do that to you. Like, because of the chaos factor, right? You know, we did that water line repair recently. When there's a chaotic situation or an emergency, it costs more. And, you know, the guys make more money because of overtime, but the company also does better. And he said, so you got to be careful that you don't build a company that is subsidized by that and built on that item. You got to have a company that's built on the actual thing you want to do. And this is just a bonus, almost like how we talk about the guys with Prevailing, right? Like, we can't build this. This isn't a snow company. This is a site work company, and we do snow work. And so we had to be careful about that. But I think we've walked the line, and I think we've gotten to the point now where the team understands what we're going to do, and they understand why we're going to do it. And as long as weather patterns hold, and our area gets 60 inches of snow, or 40 to 60 inches of snow, whatever it is, and we don't have a bunch of 10-inch years, I'd say we continue to do it. But JD was asking me, he said, he made a joke on a call, and he was like, so you have it set up so that everybody, so that there's 3 schedules and everybody can run in individual teams. And Brad said, I was like, absolutely, JD, just sarcastically. And Brad said, yeah, we have it set up. You're completely set up. It's just, there's only going to be 2 of you there. So it'll be 3 groups of 2, and you only have to work, you just work 8-hour shifts, 3 of you, but 2 of you are going to do the whole site. And JD sort of snickered, yeah, we can't, that won't work. He knows that won't work. But I do think, to Ford's point, that we've tried, and hopefully the guys feel that we've tried to set it up to be more reasonable and more breaking it up, and not set an expectation that maybe is not fair to some of the guys, of what we would do.
Well, and some things we've tried in the past that just don't work is, to some points of that, like trying to do shift work. 2 things happen that we found. One is the people that are not on shift are not sometimes able to sleep, so they're still up anyways, and then they're still exhausted on the next shift. Secondarily, they might not have access to get to the job site for that second shift. So sometimes it's better to be in and maybe take breaks internally on the job site and take shifts on the job than it is to be at home, because, we've had times where people are like, all right, I'm going to go home, I got 8 hours or something. And then all of a sudden they can't get back in, or something happens.
We've had car accidents, right? I mean, we've had not a lot, but a couple guys. How
the roads are bad.
The roads are bad. You go to leave, that's a really good point. You go to leave,
and you think everything looks like where you left,
and it doesn't. All of a sudden, you get halfway to your house, and the borough hasn't been out yet, and the snow's everywhere. You know what I mean? And you're tired. So it's, we try and keep that in mind, that when we keep guys around, that sometimes it's actually for their own good, because it's not the best time to be out on the road.
Yeah, and the family meals, we'll call them family meals, but get halfway through, or you're waiting on a storm and everybody goes to the pizza joint or whatever it is, and just sitting around and relaxing and hanging out is a fun thing. But no, I mean, there's been definitely, there's no glorifying it. There's no making it sound like it's cupcakes and unicorns. I mean, it's tough work, but that's what we do on a daily basis. So it's just a different type of the same thing.
Yeah. And we're built on a foundation of doing tough work.
Yeah.
Really. So.
Well, I was just real quick, that job that you were talking about the other day, I think I literally texted you. I was like, it's starting to feel like a storm, because we were it was that waterline issue, but it was all right, we're making the decisions as we go, changing it every 5 minutes as we see something better.
Yeah.
It was this feels like a thing.
It did feel just like it. It felt like it. And I called, I think I called you first, and I was like, this is when I know something's wrong with me. I was like, it's turning chaotic, and this is rough. What's going to happen here? I was like, but we got the right people. We can get it done. I was like, but I hate to admit it, but I'm kind of enjoying this chaos. I could just see, it was like a storm. It was just chaotic, and it was like, what are we going to do? Who knows? You looked at it and you were like, this is a disaster. And the only thing we can do is fix it. And that was exciting.
Crisis management. So as our team rolls their eyes as they hear this, but hopefully they will come back for another one, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
This just confirms that Ford and I love snow. That's all we
Let it snow.
So there's no business like snow business, and we talk about it every year around this time. But it is a part of who we are and what we do. So that's a good place to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We hope you come back for another episode.